What's up, Joe? How's it going?
Doing good, Zach. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Just had a pretty good day. Just got back home from a long summer ball. What about you?
Sweet. Um, Working today. Had some training sessions after work with some of my buddies, and then came back, made dinner. Now we're here. So
Nice, nice. So yeah, you talked about starting like three different businesses or side businesses, different type of things, like through our DMs. What made you get started in that after baseball?
yeah, so I think it's the same thing that a lot of players run into when they stop playing is typically there's a disconnect with the typical corporate world of there's a lot of bureaucracy involved, there's a lot of politics involved, and it's less so the hustle of you get out what you put in. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
for me to just want to connect with people on a very personal level and start a small business, to be on a smaller team where I know everybody, I know, what their families are up to, and to just help my neighbor. I think that was the big appeal that made me want to stay involved in small business. So it felt like a
Yeah.
very natural transition, and playing college baseball, you're no stranger to 12-hour days, so it just feels super normal. So
Yeah, they do. These summers when you get back home and there's not much to do, it's like, I don't know, it's confusing almost. I'm not used to it,
yeah,
but
yeah, days off feel weird. You just sit there and you're like, I'm supposed to be busy for 12 hours. I don't know what to do with myself. So sometimes I try and
exactly.
let myself like accept that I have a day off and like actually enjoy it. And then there's in the back of my mind, like, dude, you could be doing more. Like, get going,
A
you
hundred
know?
percent. Yeah, I have those same thoughts all the time. So yeah, what were those businesses? We didn't really talk about that in the our text message. So yeah, what did you get started with? How did you get started? All those type of things.
Yeah, so I guess a little bit of background on me. So I'm from Virginia, right outside of DC. So depending on where you live, I either live in DC or Virginia, but like Arlington, Falls Church,
Yeah, yeah.
Virginia. Um, so I grew up on a lake, and during COVID was the first time my buddies and I started a business. We were the only ones that were really allowed to see each other, so we started a power washing business, which now has become a super common thing for young
Hmm.
guys to pick up,
Yeah,
weirdly enough.
it
We
is.
thought it was going to be, you mow your neighbor's lawn, you make a couple bucks over the summer before we go off to college, and we can spend it however we want. Um,
Hmm.
but the community really took to it, and that was a really cool thing to see. So it gave me the first glimpse into a business isn't this ultra formalized thing that people, spend years planning and you're Steve Jobs in the garage. Like sometimes it's just you pick up something and it becomes a little more than you think. So um through my college summers, I that was my summer gig every time since it's relatively seasonal unless you scale it up and you start doing restaurants and commercial buildings and stuff like that. So it was the best summer gig that I could have ever asked for. I made a lot of connections in local blue collar businesses, whether it was stonescaping or tree work, different things like that, and different partnerships that I made. So every summer I'd come back. I had Starbucks storefronts to do. I had local boats to do, which was great. It was, pick up the work, hang up door hangers, knock on the neighbor's door, and
Yeah.
I'd make, a good chunk of change before noon, and then I could go hang out with my buddies, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. So I did that for like 3 years. I didn't think power washing was going to be for me. I just thought there was more out there that I wanted to try and experience. Um, so I had an internship in finance, which I was always, financially inclined. I wanted to learn about money, so I figured the next rational step would be to work for a bank or something like that. And it wasn't for me. It was a great experience because I was able to speak the language of money and business and make connections in that industry, which is great. But I was, playing summer ball every now and again. At that point I was playing for a less serious league. So I was playing summer ball, um, doing my
Where were
internship,
you
and then
at?
power. That
If you
one
don't mind me
was
asking.
it's called the Potomac League now. It was then the Northern Virginia Collegiate League. Um, Super local. Uh,
Yeah. So you just do stuff during the day and then play at night, or how would you do that?
yeah, so like some of the games were at night, so I would do my internship during the day. I would have the power washing at night, and then if I had a game, I could just organize the power washing schedule around it since it was just me.
You're
So
doing a lot. You're a hustler. This 12-hour
yeah, I
days are
mean, it's again like the no off switch kind of feeling. So it was cool.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
That was cool. Did not take a return offer to that bank, so was kind of left without a job after college.
Okay.
Which led me to some other stuff. I don't know how much you want me to go into it, but
You can
uh,
talk as much as you want. Like this is interesting. It's your story.
yeah. So I graduated from Youngstown State, had a great GPA, but I think like a lot of college kids now, like you go from being an athlete, feeling relatively important, people care for you, people look out for you, and the second you get out of college, nobody gives a shit about you. Like you're just another kid with a degree. And unless you're working your ass off and you can prove to be valuable to people that need you, then no one really cares. So I went right back to working. I worked for a blue collar, local business. I was dragging brush in the summer Virginia heat, just doing whatever it takes to make a couple bucks, and then started coaching at night. Um, so once I was coaching, it was like, hey, this new, they put your name up in a facility, and it was like, hey, former Division 1 hitting coach now here, and then my schedule was just booked, right? So then it was like
Yeah.
a couple lessons here and there to like every single day it was doing the tree work in the morning, doing a full schedule of lessons at night, which was great. And then it was like there's always, because I'm still, 24, I'm still finding my way. So even though in the grand scheme of things, these businesses might not be $1 million whatever, it's just another feather in the cap of learning and continuing to move along that process. So once I was doing lessons, there was a lot of like daycare just because I was working for a facility, 9-year-olds
Hmm.
that were very
Yeah.
unserious about
No,
baseball,
I
and the parents were
understand.
just like, get out of my
Yeah.
face.
Hmm.
And so I didn't like that. If I was going to be coaching, I wanted to coach kids that were very serious about getting to the next level. So that's when I started business number two, which was hybrid to remote training, um, which went really well. So I was giving kids diet plans, strength plans, and then coaching them in person. And then also had some remote clients, which I'm still semi involved in. Um,
Hmm.
but as my life has transitioned away from baseball, it's really hard to stay connected to the game when you're not just in it. Like when I had
Yeah.
all of that free time and no full time job, it was really easy to go out and make content at a baseball field or like do content during my lessons. And I found myself not able to deliver that same level of commitment to the players that needed it, which is why I've significantly shrunk the amount of people that I'm working with so I can maintain that relationship with those guys. Um, but it was really interesting. I bought a couple of different courses, classes on social media marketing, and which was all things that I was really interested in. And I learned so much that I applied not only in the job that I work for now, but in some of the side businesses that I'm still continuing to poke around at. So, like I said, maybe they don't blow up to $1 million businesses by the time you're 24, but everything's been a stepping stone along the way so far, and it's been nothing but fantastic and fun along the way. So.
Yeah, I'm sure. With those remote hybrid stuff, did you just use kind of the clients you had from working at the facility to get started, or what did you do to kind of get involved in that? Because that's something that's interesting. And I know a few guys that do that once they're done with baseball.
Yeah, so a little bit of both. So I coached for the same travel team that I played for back in high school, same showcase
Hmm.
team. Um, so a couple of the guys jumped over because I was like, look, I could give you lessons, but everybody knows like once a week lessons are BS. It's like you get thrown
Okay.
BP by
Yeah.
some random guy, and then, hey, you did great today, you did shitty next week, and you have nothing to go home and work on.
Yeah.
So when I pitched that to the parents, I was very genuine in that. Obviously there was financial benefit from me taking them onto this program, but I was like, look,
Hmm.
these kids are entering high school. They need to start being serious about the way that they recover, the way that they take their strength training, the way that they do a swing progression every single day rather than just like go out and swing a bat. Like they're very
Yeah.
serious, so I want them to take it as serious as, most people that are looking to play at the next level are. So they were very appreciative of that, and kids got tremendous results in the program, which I was super, super proud of. And then the other half that it ended up being more than half of the clients, but um, when I was still playing, I grew my social media to right around 22,000 followers across TikTok and Instagram.
Okay. That's
Um,
great.
so I rolled that into the training platform, started promoting the training platform, started doing paid ads. and then got some clients that way. So a little bit of both.
I love that. Yeah, that's something I honestly want to do a little bit too. Because on TikTok, on my main accounts, I have almost 60,000 on TikTok and more on the other ones. So like all of that was baseball. A lot of it came from being a top prospect back in high school, but I think that's something that is beneficial because right now I kind of this that I'm starting right now, and then the other thing, and I'm obviously younger than you, so it's good to learn about those things, you know.
Yeah, I would say it like again, I'm not an expert or a guru, but like
Yeah,
don't fucking stop. Like momentum is
yeah.
so hard to gain, especially with the social media algorithm. Like it was so easy, like when I was playing, as you might have experienced too, but like you can post some shit that you think is so arbitrary and dumb, but then you just throw the D1 label on it and people are like, "Oh,"
Hmm.
and they
Yeah,
totally click into
exactly.
it, which
Yeah,
I didn't want to play into initially, but then I had one buddy that was pretty big on social media just from other stuff and he's like, "Dude, like take advantage of it a little bit." So I leaned into
yeah.
it and just like I guess I'll be the guy that throws on the D1 label and it does work. I just think if you have a good message behind it is why I was able to make that jump. I was like hopefully I help some kids and provide some value and maybe they click into it and they enjoy it and they did. So,
That's great. I'm glad you're able to do that because it's something that's important, you know. I have a friend that's he's done a good job of it. He didn't even go past JUCO. You know, he got cut at his JUCO after one fall, but then really smart guy, you know, and was doing high school lessons and worked for the high school. He was the head catching coach, I guess, at his high school, and then um, scaled that. Worked for the Diamondbacks rookie ball team, and now he's one of the assistant coaches for the I think the Orioles Double A team, and then he's also doing for catching, and then but the amount he charges for lessons is ridiculous, man. It's crazy. But I'm sure he's helping some
yeah,
guys.
I think like if you're a college baseball player that comes out and you just get a regular job first, you're doing yourself such a disservice because you
Hmm.
realize like what you did is special. Like when you're in it,
Yeah.
it feels like I mean you're surrounded by people that have done it. So you just feel like the next guy in line and then you
Hmm.
get out and you if you maintain that like hey, I'm still just the next guy in line, like the effort and the attention to detail that it takes to become a high level prospect, a Division One baseball player, is a unique skill. And
Yeah.
whether or not parents are looking at it for just the D1 label or they're actually looking that in depth into it, like your market value and your ability to go make $100 an hour as a side gig is absolutely insane. Like
Yeah.
it
It's
it it
crazy.
has done so much for my financial future that I was just doing lessons at night and was able to funnel that cash into either investing or the ads in my business or doing those courses where I learned more about marketing. Like that was thousands and thousands of dollars that I made in a
I'm
snap
sure.
because I was
Yeah.
just able to say, "Hey, I was a D1 guy, I'll coach you." And I was able to provide a good product. I think a lot of guys just jump into I'll just get the first job that comes. Like do some random shit, man. Like try it, see what you're worth, see what you can do for people, you know? I think that's the best thing that anyone can do coming out of school.
Yeah. I love that. And plus it teaches you so much. Baseball's taught me so much. But this podcast isn't really about me. You told me that you went from JV high school player to D1 to JUCO to D1, all that stuff. So yeah, go more into that because that's an interesting story. And I think baseball stories tend to be some of the most inspirational because baseball's not an easy game.
Yeah, I agree. And it's it's such a late breaking sport. Like you always hear the interviews with guys where it's like, yeah, like I didn't have college offers and or like Tarek Skubal where he's, one or two offers out of high school or, now he's a Cy Young winner, but
Yeah.
um it's so interesting to see that, but I think it's the like you said, it's baseball's the ultimate teacher. It's truly a game of how long are you willing to stick it out? Like how long are you willing to do the boring, the mundane, the details? And that translates so well into literally everything that I've done. And it's again, it's the notion of, when you're in it, it feels like you're just one of the guys. Everybody gets their
Yeah.
early work in, everybody stays late, everybody's working on their craft with their mechanics and whatnot that's not the way that normal people operate. And I think the earlier that kids can learn that process, the more beneficial that they'll start to realize it. Because, like I don't want to say like I was a fuck up when I was a freshman or sophomore in high school, but like, you get in and you see the cool kids start to party. So like you go drink and you're like, that's how people make friends. And then, I look up and my GPA is terrible and I'm like, well, I have
Yeah.
bad grades. I'm on the JV team. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was blessed enough to have really, really great teammates and friends and play for a really storied program in my area. And lots of guys are still floating around professional baseball, especially like from our conference in general. Like I know James Wood coming up now. James
Wow.
Trianos just got called up.
Yeah.
A lot of guys from the conference are really starting to make a name for themselves, which is really cool to see. And again, like it's it's the battle of, you know, is it worth it to get the playing time early and be the guy in a program, or do you surround yourself with ultra competitors and figure out a way to float, for lack of a better term?
Hmm.
And that was the best thing for me is just be able to evaluate guys that are miles beyond me and then add things from their skill set and just apply it to my game and be willing to just do that for longer. So, was like a float JV varsity guy. I think I had like one at bat my sophomore year on varsity, but they just threw me into pinch run. Like that was kind of the role. I tried to
Yeah.
look up my stats for my high school career and like we didn't have I was a COVID guy senior year, so we didn't have a season, but junior year and sophomore year, I didn't even have a jersey on the team. I don't have stats on like max preps or anything because I was splitting jerseys with some senior wearing a
Yeah.
2XL. Like it was the ultimate test of you're not seeing any results now, but how long are you willing to stick out the process until you get the desired outcome? And that's really all it came down to. The parties became obsolete. The going out and trying to get with girls is obsolete. Like when you're really fixated on that goal, the steps become ever more clear. So I was heads down doing what I needed to do, and it didn't seem like a sacrifice because I was doing it with people that I loved and people that pushed me to be better. And then one day I look up and we've got Wake Forest opening day for game one. And I was like, fucking cool, man. Like that's a
Yeah. It's
pretty
sick.
awesome change. So yeah, it was really cool. And there's a lot more hiccups along the way. Like I was initially going to Bryant University out of Rhode Island on a PWO, small Division One in the Northeast Conference. And then COVID re-eligibility happens, and I've got a roommate and a laptop, and I'm ready to go. And they say, "Hey, man, like it's probably not even worth coming here. It's a PWO." So I called the JUCO that was an hour and a half north of me. I didn't know anything about junior college, to be honest. It's not really a big thing out this way.
It's
And
not.
I was like, "Hey, you guys still have a spot?" And he's like, "You can show up." So I was like, "Sweet." So I showed up. Um, we had, pods of five. We didn't even know most of the people on the team because of COVID regulations at that point. And so I was barely scraped my way onto the roster. Ended up getting technically I think I got a red shirt. I don't even know because of all the COVID eligibility BS, but got a couple at bats on the team freshman year and they were like, "Hey man, like we need you to be ready for next year." Like that was the outlook. So stopped traveling with the team, gained a bunch of weight, worked day and night with our strength coach to really understand recovery, mobility, proper strength training for athleticism, like getting into the sports science of it all, the plyometrics, the contrast training, everything. Um, and really just becoming a student all the more. And by sophomore year, hit like 330 with finished the regular season with an OPS right around one. And then had enough offers and got a scholarship to go play at Youngstown State. So went and played at Youngstown State. Was pretty banged up while I was there. A couple torn tendons, couple operations and PRPs and stuff like that while I was there. So wasn't a great or shiny career there, but sometimes like the rubber meets the road, you're banged up, you run out of eligibility, and that's just kind of how the chips fall. So I was super blessed to make it as far as I did and meet all of the people that I did along the way and learn what I did. So I have no regrets, genuinely.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, baseball is just, I mean, it's my favorite thing because of those type of reasons, right? Like you see those TED Talks on grit and, not quitting. And I feel like it just prepares you for life. And I know for me, like my like faith journey, like with Christianity and everything, helped me grow so much closer with God because the struggles that you go through, like they end up making you turn to God because there's no other option, So I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, if you want to go more into baseball, you can. But the other thing that I saw on your profile is the IJM human trafficking thing. I think that's super interesting. I'd love to know more about it. You can tell me and whoever listens to this about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, super cool opportunity that I got to promote that. So my mom actually works in the marketing department for IJM. I don't know if it's technically the marketing department, but she does a lot of like enablement for the team that goes out and tries to do fundraising to like craft the message and stuff like that. Um, and I've got all of my goals listed up behind me of things that I want to do. And, I had my heads down, crushing financial goals, doing the side business stuff, getting a full-time job for a really small company. And it was all about me. And even the physical stuff that I'd been doing, like starting to run marathons, triathlons, things like that. Um, there was no element of service anymore. And I was like, that's weird, you know? And I hate to say self-centered because like there's no bad intent to me wanting to play college baseball and do those things. But it never really felt like I was giving back. And maybe it's because I was doing those things in the community and, helping whether it was power washing or, the other small businesses that I was doing and shaking hands and meeting people. So I felt like I was giving back in that way, but it definitely felt like I had that aspect missing for a little bit. And I thought, I'm pretty decent at the social media thing, and I've got people I know that would be, friends and family that would be willing to jump onto this. So um, as I do more and more races, I was like, why don't I use this platform to raise awareness for people that don't have the privilege of going out and doing whatever they want every day like I do. Um, and so that was because my mom works for the organization and because I connected with that message, I felt like that was a great opportunity to raise funds for that nonprofit. And I'm only one race in right now since I've started that campaign, and I've raised, I think, $1,500 for that nonprofit, which
Yeah,
I'm
I saw that. You're
pretty
already
stoked
above your
about.
goal.
Yeah, so that's sweet. So I've got some more races and marathons that I'll be doing come October. So I'll be booting that back up and trying to get people. I think I only had like one or two organic social media donations, so I want to get more of that and less reliant on friends and family. But um, either way, it's been a really cool way to bring back that perspective of it seems you can get frustrated just like with baseball. It's like you get really down on yourself for striking out or getting into a slump for an extended period of time, and then you miss sight of the fact that like you're getting the opportunity to do something really fucking cool every day. And
Hmm.
so racing, doing triathlons, and being blessed enough to have the physical ability to go and do those things, the financial ability to go and do those things, the time, the support, all of the things that go into it. And it's really easy to be like, oh fuck, I missed my goal time, and like lose sight of the bigger picture that like it's truly a blessing, and to go out and do those things, it's truly a blessing to spread a positive message while you do it, that because you have all of these unique gifts and all of these unique abilities, you should be thankful for that. You should use those to your fullest extent. You should use your capabilities and the gifts that God gave you to make the world a better place at the end of the day. So, $1,500 isn't life-changing amount of money for a lot of people in situations like travel baseball or the tech space that I work in now. But, for somebody that is literally being human trafficked, like that might be the difference in, adding an additional life being saved or a home being provided in a third world country. Like who knows, to be frank, how that exact $1,500 gets allocated, but I know it's a lot more meaningful than it would be if it was just me running a race for me to hang up another medal on my wall. So um
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
a
that's
lot of reasons why I
incredible.
got into it.
And yeah, do you know exactly what they do? Because I mean, like, you see all the time that all the negatives of human trafficking, like all the things that are happening here in Arizona where I live. It's a major problem here. I know Tim Tebow talks about how it's like countrywide, worldwide. Do you know exactly what like IJM does and all of that stuff, so we can kind of promote it?
Yeah, so IGM specifically, they're a global organization, and it's not just raising awareness or even just the human trafficking prevention per se. So they obviously have a fundraising arm that will go out and raise funds that they can use internally to go out and actually do rescue missions for these people internationally. So there's the fundraising arm, there's the rescue arm where people will actually go into these foreign countries, rescue the children, and then there's also a legal team to it. And I'm not a direct employee of them, so if I'm misrepresenting them, apologies. It's total negligence on my end, but my mom works for them, so this is like the level that I've been looped into it. So the legal arm will then go in and lobby at these lesser developed countries and say, we need more regulation laws in place so that these things don't happen again. So there's a couple different elements: raising funds to make it happen, going and making it happen, and a legal arm to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And then they also have a bunch of programs back stateside or in these countries to make sure that these kids get on their feet, get the right support that they need after being rescued, so they're not just, kicked back out into the street with these massive amounts of traumas that they've developed over the years. And they do a lot of um, really cool stories about the lives that they've saved over the past, 20, 30 years, whatever it is. And the people and what they've been able to accomplish and give back to the communities now that they're well established people. It's really cool stuff. They've got within the fundraising arm, they've got a lot of athletes. Like I know Baker Mayfield's a big supporter, Kirk Cousins is a big supporter. So it's a really cool organization that, happy to do my little piece. So
Yeah. And what you're doing is obviously spreading great awareness. I mean, $1,500 isn't nothing. And would you say you just got into that mainly because, you saw it with your mom, or has it always been something that you've seen and wanted to help with?
yeah,
Like,
so I'm a big goal oriented guy. And so one of the things that I got out of when I got out of college, like I wanted to have a large portion of my goals not being self-centered. Because when I was doing goals, like in college, I wrote down, I'll have this GPA, I'll have this batting average, I'll have this on base percentage, the OPS, like body weight maintenance goals. It was all me, right? And when I got out, I was like, I'm gonna have a lot more time to not focus on me. So I was like, I can definitely allocate an hour, 2 hours a day to something that isn't just going to directly benefit me and how cool I think I am. So when I wrote down my goals, I have, like, I'm reading it right now, attend one mission trip and be a volunteer or involved in a faith-based mission. And so I was like, well, my mom works for a Christian organization that does something that I think is pretty fucking cool. So I was like,
yeah,
it was, I hate to boil it down to it being the easiest because it is a mission that I've really connected with and enjoy seeing what my mom does every day, but it also was directly adjacent to me. So it was pretty easy
yeah,
to email somebody in their department and say, hey, how do I start this? And they were like, click this link, develop a page, send it out there, do whatever you want. And I was like, sweet. And then that
love it.
resulted in
Yeah.
$1,500. So
That's great. Yeah. I love that. And I love that you're helping. That's something that I know I could work on a lot. And just being that service-based guy that, really puts others first is amazing. So I'm glad you're doing that. Something that I guess we didn't talk about was tech. What are you doing in tech? And we missed that the last part of your life, I guess.
yeah, so it's actually a cool story. So again, like baseball, is like we said, it's such a great teacher for everything in terms of discipline, but it's also a phenomenal networking opportunity. And I love it. I love calling it a networking opportunity because baseball connections are so genuine. Like I feel like there's this unspoken bond that baseball players have where it's like, all right, this dude played baseball, especially in college. Like, oh, he's a college baseball player. Like, I can say whatever the fuck I want. Like, we're on the same
Yeah.
wavelength. Like, I don't have to watch what I say. We're gonna be fine. And so, one of my best friends, when I got out of college, we do this New Year's trip to Florida. His family lives in Florida, and so I was, busting my butt doing the lessons, working for the small businesses, doing the side gigs. Um, and so I was like, "Hey, man, like we should totally talk about work. We should talk about what you're up to," because I knew he was successful, and I don't want to get into the specifics of his financial success or anything like that. It's just not my
Yeah.
place to speak on it. But he's done very well for himself, and was the CEO of the company that I now work for. So
Wow.
when I sat down and talked to him, I was talking to him because in the past we had spoken about business because I power washed his house. Like he would call me to go power wash his deck. And so he knew that I was young, hustling, whatever. And so I was like, hey, here's where I'm at. What do you think? And he's like, dude, I got you. And totally stuck his neck out and got me a job at this. It's a portfolio company for one of the best tech private equities in the world. Toma Bravo is the name of the private equity company, and Apple Tools is the name of the company that I work for.
Okay,
So it's a
nice.
super small company. It's a niche AI tool. And so I'm an account executive for them now. So I basically sell to our existing customer base, and we've got some sick customers like biggest banks in the world, JPMC, Capital One, all of the above. So like there's there's the element where like I'm doing remote sales because the
Hmm.
company is based out of Israel, but we have a sales team and some marketing team in the States. And that's how I'm involved. But um, it's the same feel of like I work on a 5-man team. Like it's a small business at heart. We, software services and AI does a lot more than my power washing company did, that's for sure. But um, I get to really understand the ins and outs of what I think is a really cool industry in AI. I get to understand how it impacts businesses, but at the same time, like I really enjoy the people that I do it with. Like I work on a team with guys that are like 30 to 35, and I'm the youngest guy in the room, which is cool, but like I know what they're going through in their life. I know why they're working. I know all of the above. And it's really cool to sit down and have an impact. Like, I don't feel like I'm in a corporate cog in the machine whatsoever. Like,
Yeah.
am I wild about AI and how it impacts businesses? No, I think it's cool. But like, the ability to impact a team, see how my day-to-day efforts impact that, and then, you eat what you kill in sales at the end of the day, which is super sick. So I have a lot of motivation to work hard and prove myself. And at the end of the day, just like the businesses I've started, like I've just taken the role of trying to learn every day, learn how to build a sales organization, learn how to market, learn how to email people, learn how to communicate with people, provide value, all of those things that are just skills in the bag, rather than just looking at it as, I've got a corporate job. Here we go for the next 40 years. I've always hated that mentality. Like
Hmm.
I'm on a small team. I've got an opportunity to make a name for myself, and who knows where it ends up. Maybe it's, us having an exit event and, woohoo, we all party. Or, maybe it's this company grows and becomes something really cool and I've got a spot there. But, um, I really enjoy it. I'm remote. I travel a lot. And I've still got my fingerprint over some small businesses and have been able to maintain and keep my foot in some side gigs, which has been really cool. So working in AI is sick. Working for a small business again is sick. Knowing the dudes that I work with and, being able to cut the shit and not have the typical corporate lingo that everybody deals with at those massive companies. Um,
Yeah.
it's nice. It's not too crazy of a transition, even though I went from coaching baseball and lifting trees all day to working for a private equity portfolio company in the matter of a year. But it's still it's just one step along the way in the journey. So
That's fantastic. That's an amazing story. And it's interesting. I know, like you said, your grades were good in college, but you've told me, I think this is something that I've taken from is like try to learn and try to hustle first, like do those lessons first, do those things first. And I'm the same way. I have a 4.0, I've never gotten anything but an A, but like obviously those same things that you've said has kind of bored you. They bore me too. So I feel like I've learned a lot from this in that way, but I think it's great, and the connections helped. I have a cousin that works for Anthropic that he started working there like 3 years ago, and I had never heard about it. You know what I mean? And so those little
yeah.
things that you hear and you kind of like talk about, it's just great. And I'm glad that those connections have helped you along the way.
Yeah, and the baseball saying, or I guess it's probably more of a sports saying at large, is of you never know who's watching. Like the amount of former coaches that have stuck their neck out for me now because I was working hard when I was 16 is
Yeah.
insane. And so you're never looking at that when you're 16, but you really are always building a reputation for yourself. And the way that you do anything is the way that you do everything. Like that, I know it's super cliche, but like people that work as hard as college athletes and like a good one at that, not good as in performance, but somebody that really, again, has taken the role of a student of the game and works their ass off every day. Like that's a rare person, especially as you get into the normal world. I hate that phrase
Yeah.
too, but like that's what people call it. Um, life is always real. But um, when you get into that and you start having conversations with people where it's like, all right, we finish at 5, the sun goes down at 9. Like, what the fuck are we doing? You know, like
Yeah,
keep
it's
going.
crazy.
Like go work on a charity, go start a small business, go connect with people that you haven't connected with in the past. Like do meaningful shit in your life. And that is so rare to have people that um genuinely want the most for themselves. And the more you can surround yourself with people that are like that, speeds the process up 10x. So
I bet.
that's really
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely been cool.
And I've seen it more and more. Like companies are hiring athletes. You see those posts about like JPM and so many other companies. Like they're just they're putting out specific ads for athletes, and I think it's just because of exactly what you said. I mean, we work hard. We get those bonds in a different way than I think people are used to. We have to connect with 40 new guys every single year. I think that's the craziest part about baseball is like managing and connecting with 40 new guys and having to like I think a lot of times it's hard to maintain those relationships, but if you can do it, it's incredible, you know? But
100%. That's the cool thing about JUCO too, is that like the turnover is even quicker, but then you have friends like all over the country. Like you can go
yeah.
anywhere and you know somebody, which, it doesn't seem that impactful in the moment, but like you're not looking at things from a business connection point standpoint at that age at all, which makes it all the more valuable. Like you're genuinely invested in that person's success. I wanted to see all of my teammates win and go do cool stuff so that, when they're working on something, like I've got group chats with former teammates where we talk about the stock market. I've got group chats with former teammates where it's like, hey, let's go on a bike ride, let's go run a marathon, like all of these different things where it's like you're just constantly bettering the people around you and bettering yourself, because when you're in that team environment, like that's all you know. It's not just about you. You genuinely have to have the people around you succeed, and that's why it's so valuable. You don't want somebody to just come into an organization, or if you're a leader in a startup or trying to start your own business, like everything is based around how well you can serve other people. Like that is
Hmm.
all that matters. If you can do that extremely well, like there's always going to be a spot for you. And that's what baseball teaches. Like you're
Yeah.
always setting up the next guy. And that's such an impactful skill that I've learned. And I've been able to, like I'm the youngest guy in a lot of the rooms that I'm in now and having these conversations because I understand that. I'm not there. Like, yes, hopefully I will have a nice life because of this, but like my life is to make a difference and make an impact on the people around me. And that's a rarity, not to toot my own horn, but like to toot the college baseball horn. Like these dudes want to win. That doesn't
Yeah.
stop when the game's over. So,
That's fantastic. Yeah. And I don't think, at least for my personal story, I don't think I would have ever learned that without baseball because I've always been super hardworking, right? Like COVID hit, I was working out twice a day, running, hitting, but like it took college and like deep into college for me to learn like the importance of like the bonding with your teammates and doing stuff outside of the field because in my head it was always the harder I work the better you'll be, and I feel like baseball is one of the few sports where that's just not true. In school you can do that. The harder you work, the more you study, you'll probably get a better grade on the test, but like baseball in particular, like you can spend all your day thinking about a swing or whatever and you end up tinkering it so much that you end up being worse, and that's the incredible part. But if you just were
yeah.
with your teammates hanging out, really learning from them, like you'll probably be a better player. And I love that that's something that the game can teach and something that's
Yeah,
amazing.
that it's funny you say that too. Like as soon as I got out of the game, I had some friends that were younger. Like for example, I had one of my buddies that was working on the Georgetown staff, and I'm right
Hmm.
outside. Like the Georgetown's field is, well, they switch it a bunch, but depending on which field they're playing at, because nobody can build a field in DC.
Yeah.
They're either playing at Shirley Povich up in Maryland or Capital One, which is like Capital One's like right down the road from me.
Okay.
And so I went to watch Georgetown play Youngstown State, where I played at
Hmm.
Capital One, and it was the first time I sat there, and I was like, it looked so unserious. And when I was playing, like I put so much weight into like I have to perform today. I have to be the best version of myself. I have to be perfect. And then when you sit in the stands, like not still in a jersey and wanting to be on the field, like you're truly an observer of the game, you're like, shit, it's not that serious. Like it's
Yeah.
seriously such a game. And
Hmm.
I think when you zoom out and like you say, all right, I'm going to enjoy the people I'm with. I'm going to enjoy the, again, like just the same as running and doing all of these competitions now. I'm just going to be grateful for every single day that I get the opportunity to get out here. And I think that mindset, in hindsight, going back, if I adopted that mindset, like that would have been so much more valuable because, I was the type of guy I have 3 strikeouts and it's like you're not going to hear from me for 2 days because I'm just going to be locked in the cage until I
Yeah.
figure this shit out, and that's like you said, that's not helping you. Like you probably didn't change
No.
anything. You probably just missed and the guy made a good pitch or something, right?
Yeah.
Like you probably just need to keep going and have that good headspace of like, I'm just going to figure this thing out. I'm just not going to quit. I'm just going to keep going, put in the work that you need to put in, and the results fall how they may. Um, and that's kind
Exactly.
of that's life, You do what you need to do. You make it unreasonable for yourself to fail, and then you just go have a good time. Like that's really all it is.
Yeah. 100%. And I'm definitely not saying don't work hard. I'm just exactly what you brought up, like just do your work and then let it be. Because I've had to learn that, man. It's especially being on where I was at last year at LMU. That was the first time I'd ever been on a losing team. Like my high school was great. We had Rock Chalowski, who just got picked first overall last year. We had a good staff. And then TCU obviously is good. Played on Canes when I was in high school. And then being on a losing team, you see like how if you're just individual, click start, you can't really come together as a team because everybody feels like the next person is going to be the failure versus if you can really bond, really like I know my friends at UCLA that they were hanging out every Friday night, every Saturday night, no matter what, win or lose. Those type of things I think go beyond, and it's so incredible just to see that like relationships matter almost more than the work, to be honest. And you see that. You see guys that don't have the prettiest swing, but they're just so intent on helping their team win or just being free that they're doing well.
Yeah, 100%. Like the most winning team I was ever on is that team that I was on that went to Grand Junction in 2022, and there have been more talented teams at that JUCO, but like obviously this like JUCO being to get out, the more that we win and the further we made it in the tournament. Obviously, Grand Junction gets you a ton of exposure. Being on a World Series winning team gets you a lot of, like, for lack of a better term, credibility. So that when coaches look at you, it's like, hey, does this guy play on a good team? Do they compete well? Can he play against high level competition? Because JUCO can be really hot and cold. And so for us, like, we had so many guys that came from, I was privileged to grow up in a great area, but we had a lot of guys that weren't that, and the level of accountability that they held us to because the game meant so much more to them. It was the opportunity to make something out of themselves. It wasn't the private school travel baseball, like you get the nicest bat every day and you just play
Hmm.
the game. It was like, look, I'm trying to get a fucking college education so I can make money and provide for my family. So like if you're not holding up your end, you're getting in my way. And
Yeah.
so being on a team with those kind of guys, like I value my relationship with those guys more than anything. Like they truly taught me how to work. And then also like it was a really cool balance of the guys that came from really, established baseball areas were really analytical. They were very detailed about their work ethic. It was more structured. So like we had this really cool balance of like I give so much of a shit because it holds the weight of the world to me, and then also like the very analytical, forward thinking, more drive line esque baseball. And that combination was really fucking cool because it was like it doesn't have to be just like they eat shit and be gritty all the time. It's the balance. It's like it has to mean something to you, and you also have to care about your craft. And because we brought both sides of that, it was like everybody put their ego aside. Everybody was like, let's just be together, want the best for each other, hold each other accountable. The way we do every single rep, the way we go about our warm up, every single thing mattered. And when everybody was on that wavelength, you can you can just get along. There was no like, oh, this guy's up here, he's doing this amount of work, and then we've got one guy slacking. It was like everybody's pulling the same rope in the same direction. We all loved each other for it. And that team was fucking humming, man. Like we went like 59 and something and made it to the World Series, and that's what you look back on, is you look back on like the relationships and the things that you've learned. And it's not like, how much gear is in my locker when I show up on campus. Like, that
Yeah.
doesn't, you don't look back and think about that. Like, it's the relationships that you build and the lessons that you learn and like those struggles that you share with those guys. And you hopefully learn this much later, and I hope you continue playing baseball for a long time, but like, it's it's not that common. It's really not. And so when you can find an environment of people that are like, here's why I'm holding you accountable, it's because, like, they won't say it, but it's like, I'm holding you accountable because I love you. Like, you're my
Hmm.
brother and I want the best for you. And so when I see you slip, I'm going to get on your ass. And that's like a
Yeah.
really transparent relationship that creates that bond, and why so many college baseball players end up getting along so well. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I
No,
totally
I
agree
love
with you.
that. I mean, what you said there, I had never thought about it like that, but JUCO is exactly that. Like I at Central had the exact same thing. And my roommates were four of the most different roommates you can think of. We had an OC kid or around OC. We had a kid that um was a country kid, and then a kid that his name was Tyree Reed, who's at one point the number two overall draft prospect, and he tore his ACL right before the draft. Went to Oregon State, tore his other ACL. Was like 22 years old in a JUCO, and like all these type of things are just mixed together, and everybody's pushing to get to the next level, right? And it's exactly like you said. The further you go, the better you'll be, and together it just created such a great environment. I love JUCO for that, and I encourage anybody that's like listening to this or anything, like in my opinion, like JUCO is vital. Like if I have a kid that's, even if he's great at baseball, I might have him skip a grade of high school to go to JUCO for a year or something like that, just because I think it taught me more than a lot of what even D1 can teach. So I mean, it's something that I
Yeah.
loved. And
I couldn't agree more. I have some friends, obviously, that grew up in the DC area and that were, well-to-do families, and then ended up at JUCOs, and they're like, I've learned more about life, like real fucking life at JUCO than anything else. And
mhm,
it's really cool to see that, because like sometimes you have to step out and like understand the way that other people operate, which is a really cool lesson that I learned from JUCO. And then even like, not to, I know it's relatively like zoomed out, but like the expectation that a kid that's 18 is gonna know what he wants out of his school, and he's gonna know how to work, and he's gonna be ready to compete with now like 23-year-olds, which is, I mean, I'm
yeah,
fucking 24. I could Some of these guys are my age out there still,
they
and I've been
are.
out of the
It's
game for two
crazy.
years now. And the expectation that you're just going to be ready for that mentally and physically, like, are some kids 100%. But like these kids that like me, if I would have snuck my way into the Northeast Conference and played, mid-major Division 1 baseball, like, I know for a fact I would have gotten cut. I didn't know what my major was going to be. I didn't know what I was doing there. Like, for me to step back
Yeah,
and have those 2 years to say, learn how to work, understand what the next level is demanding of you, and be physically, mentally, and all around prepared for what the demands are going to be. Like, you check the ego. Like, everybody gets there, and I know Central AZ is the same way like Hartford is. Like, most of our guys are drop downs from Division 1 for whatever reason, whether it's grades, off the field stuff, injury, whatever. And like, I remember we had one guy that would always, he's like, oh dude, like, at my old school this, at my old school this. And we had one guy that would every time stand up to him and be like, dude, no one gives a shit. We're here now, man.
yeah,
Like, and so that again, like, is such a great teaching moment to be like, you're never above anyone else. You're never above where you currently are. You're not too good to put in the work. You're here now. Make the most of the current opportunity that you have, and it will eventually pay off. It's not, I'm
yeah,
this, I don't do that, or like, I'm high and mighty because I did something in the past. No one cares. It's
yeah,
how much value do you provide for the team, and are you going to help us win? And if you do that, we're good.
exactly. And I think that's something that JUCO really teaches, because I know my issue has never been physicality. That's the biggest thing, right? I'm tall. Like your story is a little different. My story was I committed at 15. I've always been big, always been tall, always, for the most part, always been fast. I got a little bit faster in high school, in college. I mean, but like in my head, it's always been that mental side. And I think something that's really hard is that mental side when you go from, there's going from being like a nobody to a somebody, but also being from a somebody to just like you still think you're the best, but you're not playing and it's confusing and you don't know how to do all these things. So I think it's just incredible that like, really like what JUCO teaches and puts you on that even level, which you're talking about, and like teaches you those little things that you don't know, teaches you how to play free, to use your athleticism to your advantage, to not get taught out of your athleticism. There's so much things there that like I think is vital to people's success because like you said, you were small and undersized. I was had my size, but like lacked this to its the fullest extent. I'm an analytical overthinker, the exact kind of driveline guy you were talking about, and I don't think that helps that much in baseball. I think there's a happy medium, and I'm grateful for the
Yep.
opportunities I've had to learn those things.
Yeah, totally agree, man. It's really cool. I feel like every JUCO guy I talk to is like the same sentiment. Like I've never really to like, there's some edge cases, there's exceptions to every rule, but like almost everybody that plays at that caliber of JUCO, where it's like you've got your JUCO where it's like, all right, it's the local community college, and the like kids that played in high school are just like, oh, I'll just play baseball. And then you've got your ones where
Yeah,
it's like, all right, this is Division One baseball, like this is the real deal. Everybody that competed at that caliber of JUCO that I know is like hands down the most fun I ever had playing baseball. Like
100%. Yeah,
it's the coolest thing, and I didn't know anything about it. I was like, all right, shit, this is all I got left. Like, let's just go there because I don't know where I'm going to go to college. And it ended
yeah,
up being the best thing. So definitely a lucky strike on my end there. So
yeah. And I can only hypothesize because I haven't been to pro ball, but I have friends that were always that top prospect and now they're in pro ball and they hate it. Like I talk with them and they've never had to deal with like not good facilities, not good travel, not good anything, and they're just not prepared in that type of way. It's not that they don't have the talent because they were third, second rounders. You know what I mean? But like I think that's an important piece too that we don't really see because some people just aren't used to it.
yeah, and like for 99% of players, like there will be a day where you're not the man. Like you've got your Bryce Harpers that have been a
Yeah.
prodigy their whole life, whatever. But like 99% of players get to a point. Like I always resonated with it, like the Jose Altuve story, where it's like he was a damn good baseball player, but there was obviously lots of reasons where a scout would overlook a guy like that, right? And he's
Hmm.
like sleeping outside of the facility, and he's just like, I will not leave here until I have an opportunity. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure wherever he played prior, he was a damn good baseball player. But then it's like these pro organizations have, especially now with modern analytics, like if you can't provide X amount of bat speed, or with all the stuff with like blast motion, even like your time to
Yeah.
contact, or these crazy advanced things that they're looking at these prediction models to say like what will a player eventually be. Like if you don't fit that, it's so difficult, and
It's
so it's
ridiculous.
it's it's weeding out a lot of it, not weeding out, but it's showing a lot of those guys that have just been the man for one reason or another, like you're gonna get to that point where someone's gonna check you on your shit. And
Yeah.
JUCO is like the ultimate ego check, leave it at the door. No one's coming to watch your games. You're not getting any gear. You're not doing any of the fun stuff. So if you don't love the game and love the process, like those are the dudes that don't make it in JUCO. Which is it's
Yeah.
never a talent thing. We had super, super talented dudes that came in and didn't make it to the next level just because they weren't willing to go to class because it didn't mean that much to them, or they didn't do the emailing and they didn't get recruited. Like it's everything. If you don't truly want it, it'll find you.
Yeah. 100%. And it's incredible though, isn't it? It's a whole different story. But
Yeah,
yeah. I
seriously.
mean, I mean, what else? What else? I think there's something that I wanted to ask you before. It's like we've talked about it a little bit, but if there's one thing that going into college that you could tell yourself or that you're 24 years old now, if you could tell yourself when you're 18, what would it be? I know it's kind of a basic question that we've gone over a decent amount, but I feel like you've gone through so much in 6 years that I feel like that would be a good question to ask.
Yeah, I would say it's so much easier said than done, but know who you are, but never be afraid of trying new things. Like
Hmm.
I if I if you tell that advice to, I always hated this where it's like, oh, your swing got you to the big leagues. And like some dudes have terrible swings, right? Or like for me, if I was told be the player that you are when I was on JV at 115 pounds and I couldn't crack a 7060 because I was just weak. Like, what is that to that kid? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there comes a time where you have to look at other people and say, I need to add something like that to my game.
Hmm.
That's super valuable because you have to compete against those guys. Like if we were the same age, right? Like I have to compete against you. You've got the size, you've got whatever, and I don't. So like
Yeah.
how am I going to find a way to steal a skill, to add something to my game that's going to allow me to level up past you just in the
Hmm.
game that we're playing today? That's all that matters is do I beat you today, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a fair amount of that. But then obviously you know this where like you get into college baseball and you've got a hitting coach that came from the West Coast, you've got a head coach that came from the East Coast, and you've got guys that came from all across the country. They've got different swings, they've got different mentalities, and it's information overload. So I think
Hmm.
taking the ability to say, I know what makes me good and I know where my flaws are, if you can adapt other people's games and improve on your flaws while not losing the ideal person that you are. Like, I know that for me, like the kind of player that I was, I knew that I was going to strike out at a sub 15% clip because I was going to have really good plate discipline, make good decisions over the middle of the plate, and I was just going to make a ton of contact and let the chips fall how they may. I had a conversation with one of my hitting coaches who ended up coaching in the Twins organization. This is like the perfect example of what I'm trying to say. And I know it's a roundabout answer, but like the first time I hit a ball, it was like 101 or whatever it was. And so I went up to my coach, and the first question I asked, because that was a big milestone for me, and I was like, what do I do next? And he goes, you need to start hitting the ball at 30 to 32 degrees more. And I was like, fuck no. I was like,
Yeah,
dude,
that's
I
gonna
hit the ball
take you out to
100.
15%.
Yeah, I was like, I hit the ball 101 time. Like, that's me leaving the yard one of every I don't even know how many swings, right? But like I
Yeah.
know that if I live in the middle of the zone and I have really good plate discipline, I don't lose that. I'm going to hit the ball in the mid 90s a hell of a lot. So my
Yeah.
ability to articulate that to him was really important because he was like, that's a good point. I think a lot of kids would have gotten in that conversation and said, that's my hitting coach. Like, yes, sir. Coaches don't want to hear you just shut up and take orders. There's a respectful way to have that dialogue and know who you are and take feedback. They want to know somebody understands their game. They don't want somebody that just shuts up and takes orders. And they also don't want the kid that just says, like, F off, coach. Like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do anyway. Like,
Yeah.
know who you are, know where your flaws are, stick to what you're good at, and be able to adapt the weaknesses. I think that's, in a nutshell, the biggest tactical thing that I would say. And you can also use that to, like, if you're a kid that is, like, I was a kid that was going to church on Sundays,
Hmm.
working over the summers. I was not going to be the guy that's getting drunk at parties and the life of the party. I knew I wasn't that guy. And so it's
Yeah.
really easy, you walk into a JUCO party and dudes are doing whatever they do in JUCO. I'm not gonna rat anybody out, but like
Yeah.
don't just go be the cool guy. Like be yourself. And so was it a little bit of a slower transition for me? Yeah, because like when you go to the team party and you're the one that's not drinking, people kind of like ask questions or they'll, pick at you for a little bit. But if that's really truly who you are, like it was for me, like my JUCO guys are still my best friends. They weren't like, oh, Suarez doesn't drink. Like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? They were like, no, he's got his goal in mind. We respect that about him. And
Yeah.
it's the same story. Like, know what you're good at. Don't lose yourself, but like also don't be the guy that's like, oh, alcohol is bad. I don't condone this, guys. Like, don't be a fucking cop. Like,
Yeah. You don't,
you
you
know,
have to be, be yourself, but don't judge others. Exactly. But
right. 100%. So it's an on the field and an off the field thing that I could have been better at, but that I definitely learned throughout my 4 years. And if I could teach that to somebody else, that's,
yeah,
fantastic.
I love that. Is there anything else? I know I told you about an hour, so I don't want to like keep you too long, but is there anything else you really want to say that we didn't touch on or anything like that before we end this
No,
thing?
I would say, no, it was definitely a cool conversation. I love having conversations like these. So the next thing that I'm up to since I've been transitioning more out of the baseball thing and my life is now more centered around just like the lessons that I learned from baseball in the real world.
Yeah, yeah.
The next thing coming up for me is I'm working with a couple former athletes trying to get it off the ground now, more so just in the information phase and seeing who would be interested in it. But formalizing that baseball network and providing like physical rooms for people to be connected with those guys. So the idea where it stands now and what we're going to be building into it is which is why I reached out to you. I thought it was cool conversations, but um having the ability to like once a month having a networking event and saying like, "Hey, we've got lots of guys in this room that want to make the best out of themselves in their career. They
Hmm.
were former athletes, and I just want to get those guys in a room and see what happens." And then at the same time, I know a lot of those same people also want to push themselves from a competitive level like I do now, where it's like triathlons, marathons, just continuing to push yourself physically. So like one of the things that I'm trying to replicate is like my best friends always hung out working out. Like it was,
Hmm.
hey, let's get together and work out. Hey, let's get together and get swings in the cage. So I think it would be really cool to see like, all right, these guys are in sales. These guys are trying to build a startup. These guys are in data analytics and just get the guys in the room and say like, hey, let's see how we can help each other and just build relationships in that way. And then also host something like once a month where it's like, hey, we're going to do a group training. If anybody's running a marathon or whatever, we're going to host a running event. We're going to host a lifting event, whatever it is, and just get those guys connected. Um, so basically, all it would be from a day to day and tactical standpoint would be just having whether it's Slack or Discord, whatever it might be, just having an area where it's like, hey, if you want to be a part of a post athlete network, just hit me up and I'll put you in and we'll see what comes of it. But again, I want to facilitate cool opportunities and be the guy that provides for the team and not just be worried about myself in this race. So more to come on that end. Got some meetings about it tomorrow. So super early stages, but I think it's going to be something cool. So again, taking all the things that I've learned from past businesses, whether it's marketing or whatever, and just continuing to narrow the focus. You know, my life has transitioned past power washing and baseball. But I think the constants in my life are that I want to better myself and the people around me, both physically, spiritually, and honestly mentally every single day to be a better person. So let's see how many people I can get in the same room and see how that works. So
I love that.
that's
You
what's
know, and that's
next. I just wanted to get
yeah.
that out there, but
No, I think that's a great idea. And you know, I actually pray a prayer every day where I say, just please heal me and others physically, spiritually, and mentally. So I think it's funny that you said that. That's so random, but I love that. But I love that you're doing that. I think that's something I would definitely want to be a part of at one point. But I think that's something great. I think the connection piece is something super important. And if you need any help with that, I'd love to help. But I'd love to have
yeah,
you
for
back
sure.
on at a certain point and we can talk more like specifically about that as you grow it, you know, because I think that's a great idea. I think it's a good next step for you. And then my final question for you is, do you know anybody else that you think I should like have on this conversation, have on this kind of live podcast type of thing that you know that maybe you could introduce me to and then I could start talking with?
Hmm. Um, so I guess your primary focus is people that are starting businesses, former athletes still,
It
or
could be former.
what's
It,
your
it could
like?
be. My niche is broad, right? Really, the idea of this is just to be learn and hear from interesting perspectives, right? Like as broad as possible. I kind of want to eventually be like, you know, like the Joe Rogan style, where I'm talking with interesting people, but it's more just a conversation. I can have the guys that I find interesting back on. That's my end goal, right? So, hearing from people that obviously you're an interesting guy and you know other interesting people, so being able to kind of expand my network through that would be fantastic. You know.
Yeah, I think my buddy Jake would definitely be down. He's helped me a lot with a lot of the different projects, and he's always wanting to get his hands involved in more stuff. So his deal, he's my high school best friend. His dad is the one that got me my current job. Um, but we grew up together and, still hang out on a weekly basis. But his story was the number one pitching prospect in the country coming into high school.
Oh wow.
6'10" left-handed pitcher that threw 90 as a freshman. Like he's a freak, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I won't tell too much of his story, but was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer as a sophomore in high school and
My
was
goodness.
honest to God like never the same player since. And it was really tough. I can only imagine for him, but I'm, saying tough for me to see, there's a lot of people that would ask me questions and say like, "Hey, Jake's not really throwing all too hard. Like what's going on?" And I'm like, the dude works his ass off. But played for Virginia, went to Omaha twice, and was a really vital
Wow.
piece for those teams. Ended up getting picked up by the Guardians and was just now released. So he's just now on his like me, like try like he's coaching,
Yeah.
he's doing an internship, he's doing a bunch of random stuff, and he's a super good human being. Um, but the things that he's realized in his life and the amount of bullshit that he's cut out because of the perspective that he has is fucking phenomenal. Like I'm
I
really
love that.
proud to call him my best friend, but like he's a stand-up guy and he's totally my friend that I go to where it's like if I need somebody that I know is going to shoot me straight, like I'm about to make a big decision, it's like I got to call Jake because he doesn't play
Yeah.
any shit. Like he's the man. Super devout Christian, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Just got
That's great.
random, but his fiance was the starting shortstop at Arizona State for this past run that they went on. So
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
he's all Arizona tied up because he was in the Arizona Complex League while he was with the Guardians for a little bit. So um, yeah, I'm sure he'll have tons of stuff. He's a beyond scratch golfer because he's a freak athlete. He was Division 1 level basketball player because he was 6'10". Like, there's all the cool shit, but his perspective on life is pretty sick. I would recommend talking to him, and I can put in a good word. So
I would love to. Yeah, I would really appreciate that. We can talk more about it after this, but I really appreciate your time. I'd love to talk with you again at some point in the next couple of months as you grow this thing, but let's just stay in touch before then. But I appreciate your time today.
yeah, for sure, dude. Anything I can do to help. So I'm
Yeah,
there.
this is great. Thank you. We'll stay in touch on this.